Kurt Vonnegut Jr.'s foreword to Write If You Get Work, the Best of Bob and Ray. Published 1975. It is the truth. Comedians and jazz musicians have been more comforting and enlightening to me than preachers or politicians or philosophers or poets or painters or novelists of my time. Historians in the future, in my opinion, will congratulate us on very little other than our clowning and our jazz. And if they know what they are doing, they will have especially respectful words for Bob and Ray, whose book this is. They will say, among other things, that Bob and Ray's jokes were remarkably literary, being fun to read as well as to hear. They may note, too, that Bob and Ray had such energy and such a following that they continued to create marvelous material for radio at a time when radio, creatively, was otherwise dead. I have listened to Bob and Ray for years and years now, in New England, in New York City. We are about the same age, which means that we are inspired by roughly the same saints: Jack Benny, Fred Allen, W.C. Fields, Stoopnagle and Bud, and on and on. And my collected works would fill Oliver Hardy's Derby, whereas theirs would fill the Astrodome. This book contains about 1/10,000th of their output, I would imagine, and it might be exciting to say that it represents the cream of the cream of the cream of their jokes. But the truth is that there has been an amazing evenness to their performances. I recall a single broadcast of 10 years ago, for example, which might have made a book nearly as pleasant as this one. I was in the studio when I heard it, and saw it, too. I was supposedly applying for a job as a writer for Bob and Ray. We meant to talk about the job in between comedy bits, when the microphones were dead. One of the bits, I remember, was about selling advertising space on the sides of the Bob and Ray satellite, which was going to be orbited only 28 feet off the ground. There was an announcement, too, about the Bob and Ray overstocked surplus warehouse, which was crammed with sweaters emblazoned with the letter O. If your name didn't begin with O, they said, they could have it legally changed for you. And so on. There was an episode of Mary Backstage. Mary's actor-husband, Harry, was trying to get a part in a play. His big talent, according to his supporters, was that he was wonderful at memorizing things. There was an animal imitator who said that a pig went oink oink, and a cow went moo, and that a rooster went cock-a-doodle-doo. I very nearly popped a gut. I am pathetically vulnerable to jokes such as these. I expect to be killed by laughter sooner or later. And I told Bob and Ray that I could never write anything as funny as what I had heard on what was, for them, a perfectly ordinary day. I was puzzled that day by Bob and Ray's melancholy. It seemed to me that they should be the happiest people on earth, but looks of sleepy ruefulness crossed their faces like clouds from time to time. I have seen those same clouds at subsequent encounters, and only now do I have a theory to explain them. I surmise that Bob and Ray feel accursed sometimes, like crewmen on the Flying Dutchman, or caged squirrels on an exercise wheel. They are so twangingly attuned to their era and to each other that they can go on being extremely funny almost indefinitely. Such an unlimited opportunity to make people happy must become profoundly pooping by and by. It occurs to me, too, as I look through this marvelous book, that Bob and Ray's jokes are singularly burglar-proof. They aren't like most other comedians' jokes these days, aren't rooted in show business and the world of celebrities and news of the day. They feature Americans who are almost always fourth-rate or below, engaged in enterprises which, if not contemptible, are at least insane. And while other comedians show us persons tormented by bad luck and enemies and so on, Bob and Ray's characters threaten to wreck themselves and their surroundings with their own stupidity. There is a refreshing and beautiful innocence in Bob and Ray's humor. Man is not evil, they seem to say. He is simply too hilariously stupid to survive. And this I believe. Cheers. And thank you for listening.